Hey Reddit, I need some advice and support as I'm facing a difficult situation. My name is Richard65M, and I am a retired neurologist. I've been married to my wife, Emily 39F, for 12 wonderful years. But for the last 5 years, I've known something that she doesn't. She has Parkinson's disease, and according to her prognosis, she has about 1 year left to live. I'm torn between telling her the truth or keeping it from her to let her enjoy her remaining time without the burden of knowing. When I first suspected Emily might have Parkinson's, I noticed the slight tremor in her right hand. It was so subtle, almost imperceptible, but I had seen it too many times in my patients not to recognize it. Emily, being her resilient self, dismissed it as stress. I didn't press her about it then, hoping it was a temporary issue. But as time passed, the symptoms became more apparent. The tremor worsened, her movements slowed, and she started having trouble with balance. 5 years ago, I performed a series of tests on her, using all my expertise to be as certain as possible without alarming her. The results confirmed my worst fears. She had Parkinson's disease. I remember sitting in my office, staring at the test results, feeling a wave of despair. How could I tell her? She was only 34 at the time, full of life and dreams. We had plans for the future, traveling the world, starting a family, growing old together. How could I shatter her world with this news? I decided to keep it to myself, hoping that modern medicine might come up with a breakthrough. In the meantime, I subtly altered our lifestyle to accommodate her condition. I encouraged a healthier diet, gentle exercises, and stress-reducing activities. I took over more of the household chores, and when she asked why, I would say I just wanted to help her relax more after work. Over the years, it has been a constant internal battle. Every time I see her struggle with a new symptom, my heart breaks. I remember one evening, she dropped the glass and it shattered on the floor. She looked so confused and scared, but I quickly assured her it was just an accident. I cleaned it up and held her as she cried, all the while knowing the real reason behind her distress. Recently, her symptoms have progressed more rapidly. She has started to have trouble speaking, and her movements have become noticeably stiff. She looks at me sometimes with a worried expression, as if she knows something is wrong but can't quite put her finger on it. It's tearing me apart to watch her deteriorate without knowing why. Last month, her primary care doctor referred her to a neurologist after noticing the symptoms during a routine checkup. She came home, visibly shaken, with a referral slip in her hand. "Richard, why would I need to see a neurologist?" she asked, her voice trembling. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. This was the moment I had been dreading. I held her close and said, "Emily, it could be a number of things. Maybe it's just to rule out something minor. Don't worry, we'll get through this together." She nodded, but I could see the fear in her eyes. That night, I lay awake, wondering if I had made the right decision all these years. Was it better to let her live without knowing, or should I have told her from the start? Now, with the neurologist's appointment looming, the decision might be taken out of my hands. As the appointment day approaches, I find myself more anxious than ever. Part of me hopes the neurologist will confirm the diagnosis and tell her gently. Another part of me dreads the devastation it will bring. I've been practicing what I might say if she asks me directly, trying to find the right words to comfort her while revealing the truth. This morning, I woke up early and watched her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so unaware of the storm brewing around her. I felt a surge of protectiveness and love. How could I ever let her face this alone? But how could I keep lying to her, even if it was to protect her? Reddit, I'm torn. Should I tell Emily about her diagnosis now, knowing it will break her heart? Or should I let her enjoy her remaining time without the burden of this knowledge? I feel like I've been playing God, deciding what she should and shouldn't know about her own health. I need your advice. How do I handle this? How do I balance my love for her with the truth she deserves to know? Thank you for listening. I appreciate any input you can give. Update. Hello Reddit. I'm back with an update. First, I want to thank everyone for their thoughtful advice and support. Your words meant a lot to me as I grappled with my difficult decision. Here's what has happened since my last post. I ultimately decided not to tell Emily about her diagnosis. I convinced myself that sparing her the knowledge would allow her to live her remaining time without the weight of her condition hanging over her. I wanted her to experience as much joy and peace as possible, even if it meant continuing the deception. Emily's appointment with the neurologist came quicker than I anticipated. I drove her to the clinic, holding her hand the entire way, trying to mask my anxiety. I waited in the lobby, my heart pounding with every passing minute, until she emerged from the doctor's office, her face ashen and eyes wide with shock. In the car, she was silent, clutching the diagnosis papers. I didn't press her for details, knowing that the neurologist had likely confirmed what I had known for years. My heart ached seeing her in such distress, but I still held onto my decision not to be the bearer of the devastating news. Later that evening, Emily confronted me. She was a mix of confusion and anger, unable to understand why I hadn't noticed her symptoms earlier given my background as a neurologist. I felt a wave of guilt and sorrow as I gathered the courage to tell her the truth. I admitted that I had known for 5 years. Her eyes widened with shock, and then the anger set in. She paced the room, tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the betrayal. My explanations about wanting to protect her and hoping to let her live without fear fell flat. She felt that I had taken away her right to know and prepare for her future. The trust we had built over years seemed to crumble in an instant. That night, Emily spent in the guest room, and I stayed awake, haunted by the realization of how profoundly I had hurt the woman I loved. The following days were tense and filled with difficult conversations. Emily demanded to know every detail about her condition, and I answered her questions as best as I could. She was angry, confused, and deeply hurt, but she was also incredibly strong. She began researching Parkinson's disease, looking for ways to manage her symptoms and maintain her quality of life. Our relationship has been strained since my confession. The bond we shared now feels fragile, and the guilt of my decision weighs heavily on me. I'm trying to support Emily in every way I can, but I know that regaining her trust will take time if it's even possible. Emily has decided to see a therapist to help her process the diagnosis and the revelation of my deceit. I've started seeing one too, hoping to understand my actions and find a way to heal the damage I've caused. We're both taking things one day at a time, focusing on her health and trying to navigate this new reality. I'm still grappling with my decision and its consequences. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I see now how much pain I caused. If I could go back, I'd choose differently. But for now, all I can do is be there for Emily and hope that, in time, she can forgive me. Thank you, Reddit, for your continued support. This journey is far from over, and I appreciate having this space to share my story.